I knew something was off the second I joined the monthly HOA Zoom call and saw Sharon Whitaker's perfectly coiffed hair reflecting the ring light like it was auditioning for a real estate commercial. 7:58 p.m. on a Tuesday. I'm sipping my black coffee in my favorite NASA hoodie, the one I earned after volunteering to handle every compliance headache this neighborhood has thrown at me for 11 years. Thinking we're going to review the usual nonsense, lawn height violations, someone's mailbox color being half an inch off spec, and the never-ending debate about whether American flags can stay up past July 4th. But no, there she is, Sharon, our brand new HOA President, looking like a step-forward wife who swallowed a LinkedIn influencer. She scans the grid of faces like she's bestowing her blessing on the peasants of Willow Creek Estates. Then her eyes land on me. "Rebecca, is that your meeting attire?" she says with that sugary smile that could rot teeth at 20 paces. I blink. It's a hoodie. I'm in my home office. This is a volunteer board call. Sharon, not the Met Gala. She leans in like she's about to deliver a sermon on curb appeal. We're the face of Willow Creek. Image matters. Rebecca, I expect professional standards. Even on camera. We're setting an example for property values. 11 years. I knew the CC and RS better than most lawyers. I'd written half the policy updates, handled the insurance renewals, and single-handedly navigated the preliminary agreements for our $1.45 million community enhancement project, the one that was going to repave our crumbling streets, install smart lighting, and finally fix the community pool that had been leaking since Obama was in office. My name was hardwired into the governing documents as the designated compliance liaison of record. But sure, let's clutch pearls over a hoodie. I raised my mug, smiled like a woman who'd seen too many Karens crash and burn. I keep this entire neighborhood legally compliant in my sweatpants. Sharon, the bylaws don't seem to mind. She didn't laugh. Oh no. Sharon Whitaker's smile tightened into something predatory. Well, she said slowly, savoring each word like fine wine. Consider this your last board meeting. Attire violation and failure to uphold community standards. You're relieved of all duties effective immediately. Click. I was booted from the call. The silence in my home office was deafening. For about 10 seconds, I considered firing off an email to the rest of the board. But then that familiar slap of realization hit me. The big contractor meeting for the enhancement project was in 6 days. And according to both our bylaws and the preliminary contract, the designated compliance liaison had to provide verbal pre-confirmation. You couldn't just swap me out like a bad light bulb. There were procedures, 60-day notice, full board vote, formal notification to the contractor and county planning office. None of which Sharon knew because she was too busy playing neighborhood dictator with her color-coded violation notices. Before I go on real quick, if you're listening and haven't hit subscribe, take 2 seconds and do it now. Like the video too. 97% of folks don't. And honestly, it helps us keep telling these stories, especially the ones where you know someone's about to regret underestimating the wrong homeowner. Anyway, I sat there staring at my blank screen, coffee still warm. I didn't slam the laptop, didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't even curse. Just sat there for a beat, staring at my reflection in the black screen like it owed me something. 11 years of locking down every county filing, writing protocols that kept the city inspectors from breathing down our necks, pulling all-nighters on violation appeals while half the board was off playing golf at the country club, and I get kin over a hoodie. But I didn't protest because I knew something Sharon didn't. I walked over to my cabinet, an old fireproof thing that still smells faintly of toner and printer heat, and pulled out the master governing binder. Federal-style joint venture equivalent for HOAs, the one with the color-coded tabs and dates scribbled in red Sharpie. Found the one I needed, Section 14B, named Compliance Liaison of Record. That role isn't symbolic. It's logged with the county, tied to my personal contact ID, and hardwired into every contract they approve. Something you can't swap out, like a bad lawnmower or middle management drama. I typed in my credentials, still valid. Navigated to the county portal mirror. There it was, staring back at me like an old friend. Willow Creek Designated Liaison, Rebecca Halden. Effective through project closeout. It was April 18th. The contractor kickoff was April 24th. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just sat. It was the kind of silence you only earn after watching too many arrogant Karens crash headfirst into the rules you live by. The kind of stillness where your blood runs cold. Not from fear, but from a sheer weight of knowing you've already won and all you have to do is nothing. 2 days after the Hoodie execution, I heard through the neighborhood grapevine that Sharon had found her guy. Name was Trent Vance. Mid-30s crypto bro haircut. Ex-social media consultant turned community visionary. Showed up to the emergency board call wearing a tailored polo and quoting Sun Tzu like he just discovered that power trips exist in suburbia. The group chat announcement read, "Welcome our new Director of Compliance, Trent Vance. Excited for the innovation he brings to our Willow Creek standards." Innovation? My ass. Meanwhile, I'm in sweats watching reruns of old home renovation shows and sipping instant coffee while monitoring the only system that really matters, the county compliance portal. See, when someone takes over a designated role, like named compliance liaison, they get funneled into a formal transfer pipeline. Not optional, not skippable. Trent wasn't in it. I checked 5 different ways. Incomplete profile. Request rejected. Reason, missing prior liaison relinquishment. Translation, you can't take the seat if it's still got my name welded to it. That's when the board started scrubbing my access. They locked my share drive, revoked my email archive, wiped my meeting notes. Rookie move. They didn't kill my personal vault logs or the mirrored chain of custody tracker I built last year, the one outside the network. Replicated to 3 cloud endpoints and an offline NAS I keep in my garage next to the generator. So I watched as Trent opened a test file on our project's staging docs without flagging it to audit. Watched as he skipped briefing logs on the new county grant terms. Probably didn't even know those are mandatory under Section 9. Watched as he swaggered onto the group chat asking why enforcement keys weren't managed via some NFT architecture. It was like watching a raccoon crawl into a nuclear silo with a lighter. And I didn't lift a finger, but I did start printing. Pulled up every relevant clause from the county contract. Highlighted the ones I knew they'd trip over. Clause 8C. Liaison authority must be formally vacated via signed transfer with county witness acknowledgement. Clause 12. No operational kickoff without liaison verbal reconfirmation within 96 hours of activation. Clause 14B. Breach of compliance protocol voids all indemnity protections and triggers automatic project freeze. 11 years of being the invisible backbone of this neighborhood. And this clown show thought they could Photoshop me out of the org chart and call it modernization. So I sat at my dining room table, printer humming, each page landing in a neat little pile like a legal guillotine. And in the background, I could already hear the screws rattling loose. The day before the big contractor hearing, the internal comms lit up like someone stepped on a landmine. Group chat threads got longer. Emails started hitting after 10 p.m. Every Zoom status flipped to red or do not disturb. That only happens when someone realizes a fuse is already burning and they can't find the fire extinguisher. Sharon was thrilled. I saw the neighborhood newsletter. She wrote a whole paragraph about how the modernization of our compliance leadership is a bold step forward. Said Trent was the kind of forward-thinking expert the community needs. There was even a photo of them standing side by side in front of a screen with a PowerPoint that said Next Gen Willow Creek Standards. Looked like a TEDx talk sponsored by Essential Oils. Meanwhile, I was folding laundry in my garage when my phone buzzed with a familiar ping. A forwarded email from one of my old board allies. No subject line, just a panicked CC string and a red exclamation mark. Subject, header read. Urgent liaison pre-confirm for Willow Creek Enhancement Project. And that's when it got good. In the thread, buried between over-apologetic legal interns and a very pissed-off contractor coordinator, sent a message from the county side. Per governing protocol, the designated liaison of record must deliver verbal pre-affirmation within 24 hours of initial asset sync. Please advise, is she attending or not? This is non-compliant. I know I shouldn't have laughed, but I did. Just once. Short, sharp, right into the quiet hum of my dryer. Because even the county didn't know they tried to replace me. My name was still in their systems, still on their contact sheets. And now they were asking very politely why no one had confirmed I'd be in the room tomorrow. Sharon's crew replied. Mid-level board member named Cammie, who meant well, but didn't know the landmine she was walking on. We'll have that verbal confirmed by morning. Trent is fully prepped. No mention of designation transfer. No signed release. No notification to the county. I raised one eyebrow. That's all it took. Just a flicker of movement as I stared at my phone and imagined the look on the auditor's face tomorrow when Trent tried to say his name in my place. Because what happens next isn't just a breach of etiquette. It's a breach of protocol. And that doesn't end with a slap on the wrist. It ends with a freeze. The kickoff hearing started like all high-dollar county projects do. Slick slide decks, tight smiles, and 30-something squares blinking on a Zoom grid like a cockpit. You could smell the overconfidence through the screen. Everyone knew the grant was big, north of $1.45 million once all phases cleared with 2 county agencies watching from the sidelines. Everyone showed up on time except reality. They ran through intros like it was a ribbon cutting. Sharon looked like a woman who just married herself in Vegas. Trent had a fresh haircut and a look on his face like he thought he was going to sell blockchain to the planning department. County procurement officers nodded politely. Legal teams hovered with their mics muted and cameras off, the way they do when they're expecting someone to crash through a window. Then the county compliance officer, gray hair, steel voice, not the kind of man who smiles often, unmuted himself. Before we begin, he said, eyes scanning the virtual room, we'll need a verbal confirm from the named compliance liaison on file for Willow Creek. Per governing protocol. That sentence hung in the air like a snap power line. Silence. No one moved. Sharon's face twitched once. She turned slightly toward Trent Square, like maybe if she looked casual enough. No one would notice they'd skipped the part where you actually assign someone new. Trent, to his credit, looked like he just swallowed a fork. He leaned in toward his camera, then leaned back, hovered over his mic, then hit mute again. The county guy waited, didn't blink. We'll need that confirmed before proceeding, he repeated. Per your governing documents, the designated liaison must verbally acknowledge role and readiness. Clock started at 9 o'clock. More silence. A cough from someone in facilities. The general counsel's mic flicked on, then off again like she couldn't quite form the sentence she needed. I watched from my garage. Laptop open. Audio off. But the feed hot because someone somewhere forgot to remove me from a secondary dial-in list. I didn't need to say anything. I just wanted to see it happen. And there it was. The unraveling. Not with screaming, not with finger-pointing, just a room full of overpaid adults realizing they'd hit the wrong lever. And now the ride was grinding to a stop. The county officer clicked something off-screen. We'll suspend proceedings until liaison confirmation is complete. If unresolved by 1700 hours, this session will be marked non-compliant. And that was it. Meeting suspended. No fanfare. Just a dozen blinking faces and a silence so thick it could have been printed. That's the thing about traps built from paper and protocol. They don't need bait. They just need someone arrogant enough to skip reading page 2. By noon, The word freeze had gone nuclear inside the neighborhood. Not a tech issue, not a funding delay, a full-scale county-issued temporary compliance hold. Willow Creek's biggest joint project since the gates were installed was now officially a $1.45 million paperweight. Board chats started hemorrhaging emails like arterial spray. Subject lines went from clarification re-liaison protocol to urgent compliance failure. Action needed in under 4 hours. I wasn't supposed to see any of it. But when you write the compliance infrastructure from the ground up, you tend to leave a few dead drops in your wake. Back channels, legacy folder permissions, audit logs that echo back to their maker. The leaked thread that mattered most came from inside legal. Paralegal attached a PDF with the subject line, termination review, Rebecca Halden. The timestamp, 2 hours before my firing. The kicker, no check of the county register, no consultation with compliance, no county notification, just one line from Sharon, terminate with cause, attire, replace with Trent, fast track onboarding, make it clean, make it clean. God bless that smug little tyrant for writing it down. They always do. They think writing make it clean makes it look clinical, professional. But all it really does is prove they knew it was dirty to begin with. The founder of the original developer, now retired but still on the oversight committee, got looped in by 2:17 p.m. Someone finally pinged him when the freeze letter went upstream. He doesn't join Zooms often. Retired from daily ops 2 years ago. But this one, he dialed straight into the crisis line and asked only one question. Who authorized the removal of the county compliance liaison without succession paperwork? Silence. Then another email leaked from legal to the full board. We are in material breach if liaison compliance is not restored before 1700 hours. The county liaison has requested a full review of internal governance. Recommend immediate corrective action. I was sitting in my driveway watching the rain bead down the windshield when the call finally came. Unknown number. County area code. I answered. Didn't say a word. A voice, calm but cracked with desperation, came through. Rebecca, we need to talk. I sipped my gas station coffee. Let the pause breathe, then laid out my terms only. That's what quiet power sounds like. No shouting, no drama, just a fact laid bare. You burned the manual. Now you have to live in the fire. They knew it. I knew it. And somewhere in her perfectly staged home office, Sharon was probably realizing for the first time that optics don't override compliance. And no amount of pearls in the world can slick over a county misstep like this one. We met in a nondescript conference room at a neutral site off the highway. Suburbia-style damage control. No logos, no nameplates. Just coffee that tasted like consequence and a clock ticking louder than it should have. The developer rep was already seated when I walked in. He didn't look at his phone once. Just nodded at me the way old school men do when they know they've got blood on their hands but still want to shake yours. Across from him sat the county liaison, MS. Chambers, black blazer, four-ring binder. The kind of woman who doesn't blink unless a subpoena is involved. She'd reviewed the governing chain, reviewed the breach, reviewed the chat screenshots and the termination order that now lived in 2 different county inboxes. And she looked tired. I sat, didn't fidget, didn't smile, just opened my folder and placed a single page between us. 3 bullet points. No header, no threats, just the terms. Continuity restoration. I retain named compliance liaison designation through project lifecycle with full county recognition and signature authority. Advisory control. I report independently to legal and county oversight, not to board discretion. My authority is not subject to internal review or president veto. Name rights retention. Any public-facing document, audit trail, or policy citing the Willow Creek liaison will use my legal name unchanged. No substitutions, no silent edits. The developer scanned it once. Chambers scanned it twice. Neither of them argued. They knew this wasn't a negotiation. It was a correction. The developer finally leaned back and muttered, "Sharon is on administrative leave, pending review." I nodded once. "That's between you and your board." He sighed. He was trying to clean house, fast-track modernization, make things more resident-facing. I didn't let him finish. "This isn't personal," I said flat. "It's protocol." Chambers finally spoke. "We'll resume the hearing once verbal reconfirmation is complete. The compliance designation must be honored, or we will recommend the grant be rebid under formal penalty review." Silence. Then she nodded. "Do you accept the designation?" I looked straight at her. "I never vacated it." The developer glanced at the single page again, then quietly slid it back toward me with his initials in the margin. The deal was done. No apologies. No groveling. That wasn't what this was about. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't about hurt feelings or board politics or who looked better on camera. This was a firewall that worked exactly as it was designed, to protect the neighborhood from its own arrogance. They broke the chain. I was the chain. And now I was the lock too. 3 days later, I was back on the internal roster, but not under board staff. They filed me under a new designation, Independent County Compliance Liaison, Liaison of Record. Fancy way of saying I now report to no one but the rules themselves. My access badge was reissued under contractor status. Same clearance, same digital keys, but now with a legal writ that made one thing crystal clear: I don't work for them anymore. I work with them on terms they can't change. The new NDA came through with clauses baked in by my own attorney. Indemnity if the board screws up. Direct communication channels to the county liaison. And tucked near the bottom, a subtle non-interference section, so ironclad it might as well have been laminated in titanium. Any future attempt to terminate or modify liaison designation without 60-day notice and county concurrence shall be considered breach of governing document subject to immediate project freeze and referral. Sharon tried to push back. Oh, she tried. She called an emergency board call from her vacation rental in Florida. Looked sunburned and rattled like a woman who'd been locked out of her own narrative. "This undermines the chain of command," she barked. "You're letting a former board member dictate county engagement." But this time the board didn't flinch. One director interrupted her mid-sentence. "She's not former anything. She's the only reason this project didn't implode." Another director muted her. The developer, from his square in the corner, just said, "You broke protocol, Sharon." She rebuilt it. "Your input is no longer required." I watched it all unfold from my home office. Hoodie on, mic off, while the county compliance officer rejoined the call to confirm the revised kickoff. "We acknowledge the updated designation," Chambers said, scanning her copy. "Independent Liaison of Record Rebecca Halden confirmed and binding." That was it. No applause. No victory music. Just confirmation that the structure had been restored. And this time, built with safeguards they couldn't touch. I didn't gloat. Didn't post a neighborhood update. Didn't forward the email to anyone. I just added the revised document to my compliance archive. Checked that the dual authentication on the vault was still live. Sent Chambers a single line. Confirmed. Standing by. There's a kind of satisfaction that doesn't feel like winning. It feels like alignment. Like gravity pulling everything back where it belongs after someone tried to rearrange the laws of physics. This wasn't revenge. This was the restoration of a system that had rules for a reason. And this time, I was the reason they'd remember them. Final kickoff hearing. Same Zoom grid. Same county faces who now looked just a little more awake than last time. I logged in early as always. Audio muted. Camera off. Reading the room before the room even knew it was being read. Trent Vance gone. His credentials formally revoked. Access log scrubbed like a bad idea never quite finished baking. Sharon suspended indefinitely. Rumor was she'd hired a crisis PR firm. But no amount of neighborhood Facebook damage control can undo a county protocol breach. The developer was present, quiet. Legal hovered, this time with notepads. Not excuses. Everyone else just waited like kids who'd been caught once and didn't want to test the paddle again. Then Chambers joined. Same gray suit, same steel in her voice. She adjusted her glasses, glanced at the sheet in front of her, and said it flat. Procedural, like nothing had ever gone wrong. Before we begin, we'll need verbal confirm from the named compliance liaison. My mic clicked on. Rebecca Halden. Present. Confirmed. That was all. No fanfare. No second takes. Just that quiet weight of a system clicking back into place like a lock turning. There was a silence after that. Not awkward. Not hesitant. Just still. Then Chambers nodded once. Proceed. Slides loaded. The Willow Creek Enhancement Project resumed. A grant that almost died from ego, now resurrected by ink and accuracy. Nobody dared call it a miracle. It wasn't. It was paperwork. Paperwork that lived, breathed, and bit when ignored. As the meeting turned on, I didn't say much else. My part was done. Not for applause. Not for revenge. Just for continuity. When the last deliverable was signed off, I closed the binder on my desk. Still warm from the printer. I leaned back in my chair, exhaled once through my nose, and cracked my knuckles. Across my hoodie, faded but proud, were three simple words. Compliance is undefeated. And somewhere in the distance, I could almost hear Sharon's pearls clacking as she realized the neighborhood she tried to rule was never hers to begin with. The rules always win. Always have. Always will.